Hello, this is Helen Lindley and welcome to In the Roud.
Greetings and salutations, dear listeners. This is In the Roud, a folk song podcast, and I am your host, Matt Quinn. Join me as we travel through the world of traditional folk song, one song per episode, in the order they appear in the Roud Index. Each episode normally features two guests, one providing an historical look at the song, while the other will be a singer from the folk music scene to talk about their own version of the song. This podcast is proud to be partly sponsored by the Traditional Song Forum. Meeting regularly both in person and online, the TSF provides a place for a variety of topics related to folk song, song collectors, singers and many other aspects of folk song research to be presented and discussed. It's free to join and most meetings are free to attend. So discover more about the TSF at www.tradsong.org. That's www.tradsong.org. But let's get going. This week's song is Roud number 62, which is Child Ballad number 97, Brown Robin. We're back to another child ballad which is pretty unknown, I reckon. Almost nothing on the folk revival or modern recording side of things, apart from one recording by Sharon Krause, of all people, and not a lot to talk about in terms of the history either. But there's always things to discuss. Cross-dressing for one in this one. And so for this episode, I've brought back my regular unknown child ballad enthusiast, Helen Lindley. Well, hello and welcome back to In the Roud, Helen Lindley. Hello.
Hello, Matt, and how are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm okay, I think. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for various reasons. I mean, actually, we're recording this 2 weeks in advance, so the couple of weeks I'm talking about was a month ago. But yeah, time of recording, it's been an interesting couple of months, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it or myself. But that's not why we're here. How are you?
Oh, I'm really well. Been busy as I always am, and it's just nice to head into another music project. So I've quite liked that.
Indeed, we last had you on the podcast in the middle of season 5, so a couple of seasons ago, when we looked at Lord Ingram and Chill Wyatt, about which neither of us can remember a damn thing. We were trying to think about it and doing, what on earth was that song about? But it was one of those ones where, I asked you to do it because it was an unknown child ballad, and then you did it. I don't think you've thought about it since.
No, and I think I should, because I remember actually quite liking it. So I obviously I should go back to it, but there's been varying things happening family-wise. Husband Simon needing an operation on his eye and all sorts of things. So I think I just got out of the music thing because I had so much else going on. And now I'm back into it. And I thought, no, I need to go back to all those things that I've written, because I've actually written quite a lot of this stuff now.
There we go. And I know that, yeah, as we said, one of your things you do, your project is these creating settings of child ballads that haven't been sung since they were printed in child, effectively. And there's 2 of those coming up this season where you have done recordings of them, which you can buy on your album on Bandcamp. But this is not one of those. No. This is one that I asked you to do because the only person who's ever sung it is Sharon Krause, and the likelihood of me getting Sharon Krause on this podcast was highly unlikely. The likelihood was very unlikely. So here we are with you now. Brown Robin. When I've been mentioning this song to people, as people asking me what song's coming up in this season, saying in the second episode is an unknown child ballad called Brown Robin, and without fail, they all say, "Do you mean Brown Adam?" And I say, "No, I mean Brown Robin." Brown Robin is child 97, and Brown Adam is child 98. So they are, even if people were saying, do you mean Brown Adam because the titles sound similar? But without realizing it, they are mixing them up because they are adjacent child numbers. They are not adjacent Roud numbers, though. If anyone's desperate to hear a history of Brown Adam, I think I did look it up, and I can't remember. I think it might be somewhere in the 300s, Roud number wise. So you might have to wait until sometime in the late 2030s before I get to that one.
Yeah.
Or if someone picks it for the Patreon, of course. So Brown Adam is not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with Brown Robin. Roud 62, child 97. Start us off, as always. What's the plot of Brown Robin?
Right. Well, Brown Robin. Brown Robin is not a bird, it's a man. And there's the king's daughter has fallen in love with him, and the entire song is really about her finding a way to be with him in some way. That's the sort of nutshell. What she doesn't want to be, what her dad wants her to be, is, I think, married off to somebody and to serve varying lords and household people. She doesn't want that. So she develops a little plot to be able to elope. That's fairly common, I suppose, in our folk circles. Certainly, a lot of the songs that I do is these women who are think, no, I don't want that life for me. I want something different, and go off and get it. So it's quite an interesting little idea that there's another one that we've discovered.
Yeah.
Interesting how so many of these songs don't haven't been sung where the woman has eloped with a man. It's almost like it's probably means more to us now than it probably did when these songs were written. It's
Yeah.
women have a lot more power these days to make their own decisions, and I think that is a reflection on what songs we probably find interesting. Certainly what I find interesting anyway is looking at these songs, and yes, there's a wonderful bit where she's using her wiles, in her words, that she's using her wiles to get what she wants, basically.
And some cross-dressing thrown in for good measure.
Oh yes, there's some of that, certainly in a couple of the versions. There's a lovely bit of he dresses up as a woman twice. Once of his own agency, because she suggested he goes in disguise. Doesn't say disguised as what, so he takes it upon himself to dress himself up as a woman. But then later on, because she has to help him escape, and she dresses him as a woman, and there's a lot of description on what he's wearing, and apparently he shone like a queen in one of the verses, and I just thought I really like this song. I think it wasn't sung, but we are with a modern audience. There's something a little more interesting in it for many of us.
That's right. She dressed herself in the royal red. This is the version. I mean, we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves, but this is the second version in Child called Love Robbie from Christie's Traditional Ballad Airs. It says, she dressed herself in the royal red. Love Robbie was in dainty green. Love Robbie's brand was about his middle, and he shone like any queen.
It's lovely, isn't it? I just loved it. I just thought that, that it goes above and beyond what it needs to do if you've just got somebody escaping in women's clothing. There's quite a few references to him in this female garb, which I say to our modern audience is I think has brings it a whole new level of interest. Yeah, she's dressed him like any fair maiden.
There we go. Lovely. And so this, I mean, this is a very sparse ballad in terms of its reach and everything. I mean, it's not. I'm looking things up in the Roud Index. We've got 13. There's 17 entries in the Roud Index for this, but then 3 of those are not songs. There's always an entry which links you to the traditional ballad index and one to the relatively new and increasing subject index search, which you can do on the Vaughan Williams site. And so actually, yeah, there's about 13, I think, songs entries proper in the Roud Index for this one, and they're all attributed to Scotland, and they're all in books. So there's
Yeah.
no field recordings of this one. There's no versions collected outside Scotland at all, and there's only 13 of them, and they're all crossovers, I think, because there's the 3 in Child. There are 3 versions in Child. There are 2 tunes in Bronson, and they relate to 2 of the ones in Child. And the other entries in the Roud Index, I think, are either the sources where Child got it from, or they are modern books that got it from Child.
Yeah,
And
there's nothing.
and so basically what we have are the 3 versions in Child.
Yeah, that's basically it.
And the early, I always ask about the earliest we have for this song, and it's going to be version A in Child, isn't it? Because that's the Anna Gordon, Mrs. Brown of Falkland.
Yeah.
So we're talking 1783, 1789, 1799 for those manuscripts from Mrs. Brown of Falkland.
So yeah, there's very little. I mean, we've got, like I said, there's nothing to go on at all.
No,
It's almost like, it was written and then possibly sung a little and then it stopped.
happened to be collected because Mrs. Brown got collected or wrote her own stuff down, and
Yeah.
But yeah, that really is it. So well, there we go. End of episode. 10 minutes. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's basically the 3 versions in Child. We have the Jameson Brown manuscript, which is Mrs. Brown of Falkland, and version B is from Christie's Traditional Ballads from the recitation of an old woman in Buckie in Banffshire. I should say that the Mrs. Brown one's 21 verses. The version B in Christie is 23 verses. And then version C is Buchan, Ballads of the
35.
North of Scotland, 35 verses. But Buchan, I think, is a point of contention. I think some people believe Buchan to be, really reliable, and some people believe Buchan to be the devil incarnate.
Yes.
And so we have to take versions. Normally, if there's a version in Child that's mentioned a Buchan, it's normally a version that's completely unlike the rest of them. It's normally an outlier. And it does seem slightly odd in places, but otherwise it's similar. Because version A, the Mrs. Brown one, starts with the king, but all his nobles sat drinking out of the wine, etc. And the Christie's Traditional Ballad air starts with a feathered fowls in your orchard, father. Oh dear, but it sings so sweet. What would I give my father dear that bonny bird to meet? And then Buchan's one follows that, but rather than feathered fowl, it's just bird. There is a bird in my father's orchard, and dear, but it sings sweet. I hope to live to see the day this bird and I will meet.
Yeah, the daughter's different in that as well. It's Mary in version 1 and it's Mally in the C version.
Oh yes, Mally.
But yes, it's but yeah, I mean the essence of them all is very similar. So they've all obviously come from the same root.
Yeah. And then as we said, the version A is called Brown Robin, which is where Child got the sort of his master title from. The Christie one, version B, is called Love Robbie, but I think that is his name. It's Love Robbie rather than whatever else you might think.
Yes.
His name is Anne Mary, and the third one is called Brown Robin and Mally.
Yeah.
And this is Robin with a Y, not an I, but that's sort of old language sort of. Oh no, I beg your pardon. The Mrs. Brown one is Robin with an I, and the Buchan one, Brown Robin with a Y.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's interesting if you're interested in those sort of technical discrepancies. But if you're not, who cares?
Well, especially as Robin with a Y these days is the female spelling of Robin. But as soon as it mentions he, I
Oh
think we can
yes.
safely assume it's a he. But for anybody interested in making it, it's a bit like George and Sophie of Queer Folk say, isn't it? You can make a song have any meaning you want it to if you are that way inclined to do so.
Indeed,
So you
indeed
could, I
so.
suppose, in some ways, yeah, you could have a running off with a woman if you so chose. But it
Indeed,
is the
indeed.
ending that's different in them. I mean, in version A, she just elopes with him, and that's where the song ends, which seems to me to be a natural ending of it, really. In version B, it's um, it I don't he doesn't survive. I think it's something along those lines. And in version C. She elopes, and then the king's porter goes to find her and brings her back, and she marries him. Um, but it does seem to me that I say that the A ending seems the natural ending it should have.
Yes, they get married, and then she leaves one morning and never comes back.
Yeah, it just seems that yeah, that does seem a little more contrived. It's almost like the extra 14 verses don't need to be there.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
We do get the character of the porter, which is nice.
Yes, well, I have. I mean, when I did my version, the porter is mentioned, but basically because he works in the household. So, but I did love the fact that in version A we do have Gay Gilbert. I love Gay
My
Gilbert.
father and Gay Gilbert are
Yeah. Oh, I
both
had to
set out
keep
the
him
wine.
in. He just, how can you resist having somebody called Gay Gilbert in your song?
Indeed, indeed. Isn't
I have a vague thought that Gay Gilbert might be her suitor. Just the way that when you go through the song and things that happen, it because why else is Gay Gilbert there? But it did suggest that, in my mind, that perhaps he's the one she's supposed to marry and doesn't want to. But obviously, there's nothing in that to. So it's an interesting take, and it's one that I added to the version that I've created. So, because I do like my ballads to have a coherent story, which
yeah.
tends to be you've got to sometimes make an assumption because if this person's named, well, we need a reason for him to be named in there, really. It's otherwise he's just a name. And I'm thinking, well, we'll include him and we'll give him a role if you
Yeah.
like.
Oh, I've just noticed the bird in my father's garden line is actually verse 4 in version A.
Yes, yeah, there is
There
the
sits a bird in my father's garden, and oh, but she sings sweet. I hope
yeah,
to live and see the day when with my love I'll meet.
yeah, yeah. So the bird reference is there. It's obviously a sort of cloak for Rob, obviously Brown Robin. But yeah. I mean, there's no uncertain terms that it's the guy she fancies, basically. But yeah, so I don't. I think there's some lovely lines in these versions that I've tried to keep in the version I created. I do like this image of that they were beastly drunk as any wild wood swine,
Ah,
and there's a lovely image in that. Yeah, there's. I think sometimes some of these songs, once you actually do start really looking at the lyrics, the reason it's possible to make or to bring a song back is you keep those lyrics that give that might make you smile or certainly give you give you something unusual, or a certain imagery. And I think if you can keep those in and you go through, I mean, I've been through how many verses? 21, that's 56. So I've been through what, 89 verses
blimey.
in order to create this song. I think the song is, I've put it into, there's 8 lines per verse in mine. So, I've taken, I think I've got, yeah, 10. verses of 8 lines. But yeah, by taking all those elements and those descriptions that aren't, you quite like, you can make a version that's, makes it more singable and gives points of interest. Although I do draw the line at using bigly bower. I cannot bring myself in the modern era to use the word bigly in
Yeah,
any song,
I noticed.
regardless of the fact it's in lots of child ballads.
I noticed that a
Bigly
couple of
has
times.
no, we can't do bigly anymore.
Yeah, it's both. She's done her to her bigly bower as
Yes,
fast as she could can, and she
yeah,
has dressed him, Brown Robin, like any bower woman.
yes,
And something at the beginning about drawn her shot window, and she's harped and she sang. Yeah, so bigly, that's good or not.
yes. Yeah, so there's something in it. I feel it's been treated unfairly, but maybe that's just because maybe some of the theme within it is a little ahead of its time, really. Um, they probably weren't ready for a man who willingly dressed in disguised himself in women's clothing, but did it twice.
Yeah. Let's see what Bronson had to say on the matter. As verses affected by tradition and unrestored, Mrs. Brown's copy of this ballad seems less open to challenge than elsewhere. The comparative verses 15 to okay, okay. It mentions stanzas 14 and 15, but those verses in Bronson are not numbered, whereas in Child they are. So I have to sort of compare between different things here. The comparative obscurity of the heroine's explanation why she must go to the wood in person is reassuring. That's stanzas 14 and 15.
Yeah,
Then out it spake the proud porter, Our Lady wished to shame. We'll send him the Marys to the wood, and we'll keep Our Lady at home. There's 30 Marys in my bower. There's 30 of them and 3, but there's any among them all kens what flower gains for me.
there's a certain element. There's a great crossover that really there. I mean, there's several crossovers in this song, I think, but that one, it's certainly got seeds of love about it. That she has to go and choose the flowers.
Yeah,
So when you start studying folk song generally, and you go in depth in any of them, and you do find there's so many areas where there's a line here or there's a theme there that recurs in song. So
oh yeah, it things crop up all over the place.
yes, I
Oh,
mean
and
in this one there is a version that has her throwing the some money, wrapping it in a towel and throwing it over the castle wall for in order that Brown Robin has got some money. I think obviously this is future planning for eloping, but we also have that in other songs, and certainly that will come up when we meet in Willia Douglas Dale, um, because that happens there as well.
mhm.
So it does make you wonder. Um, we I suppose you're trying to find methods in song of maintaining the story, aren't you? Certainly in a ballad is, obviously a story. And if you want it to make sense, you're just going to reuse, or sometimes you're just going to reuse themes, aren't you? So that you can hang your story on these themes.
Yeah, and Bronson also looks at the in stanza 18 of that one, points out the absurdity of her concealing all of her lover's weapons about her person instead of him hiding them under his own costume.
Yes.
Because she does, yeah. She's pitting his bow in her bosom, his arrow in her sleeve, her sturdy bran her body next because he was her love. So she's sort of concealing all his weapons about her person, which I don't know how you'd look at that, but it's quite interesting nonetheless.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. It is that I suppose if you were looking at it in purely um uh sort of practical terms, that if he's dressing in her, because there is again another line which I really liked is the porter when they're escaping. The porter does make a comment to say that and this is about Brown Robin dressed as a woman. The porter saw and then spoke out. She's a sturdy dame.
Oh yeah, I saw that. The sturdy
And
dame.
again, great line. And I suppose that maybe the garments would not have had sufficient space for him to hide the weapons.
Hide a
So
bow and arrow.
yeah, so it's probably more easily concealable among her garments than it is his, which
Maybe,
are probably
maybe,
straining at the seams somewhat.
maybe. And then Bronson also remarks, it can hardly be accidental that Mrs. Brown's copy skips the kissing and love clapping of the stolen night visit.
Yes,
I'd
there
never
is.
heard the phrase love clapping, one word, love clapping. I mean, we can imagine, but I mean, I love the kissing and love clapping
I
of,
mean,
of,
well,
of
there's a lovely little line, and it shows how discreet a lot of these songs were. And it's simply that when day, I don't know what it was in the original, but I know in my translation, oh yes, when night was gone and day was come, and the sun shone on their feet.
is that because they're both too tall for the duvet?
Yes, yes, it's that is very obviously a reference to they're in bed.
Yeah, yeah,
Because he's visited at night, and
yes.
um, and
Um,
then
uh,
he's worried about being discovered. And she says, "Don't worry about it. I got you into this. I'll get you out of it. We'll just dress you as a woman again."
yeah, I'm fascinated by this word love clapping. It just love hyphen clapping. It's written here. They're
May I
just
suggest you do not Google it?
not yeah. Don't Google love clapping. And then Bronson remarks on the ending of the Mrs. Brown one as well. The conclusion of her version, although also reads like a tasteful substitute for something longer and less satisfactory. Its general summary is too judicious. Can't say that word. Its general summary is too judicious and neat to be quite free from suspicion. The other versions have a difficult time winding up the narrative, and as Child puts it, the story undoubtedly stops at the right point in Mrs. Brown's copy.
Yes, basically they've eloped, and she never comes back. Which I think is what tended to happen, to be honest, quite frequently. They ran off and didn't come back. Yes, in version B, the Love Robbie version, they have that. I think they go off and then didn't he gets hanged, I think, in that one. So yeah. So I suppose there's a certain element of society wanted Round Robin to have his comeuppance, because how dare
Yeah,
she ran off with him. But I thought, no, that's too bleak. You want her to run off and have a life where she isn't serving the men, because in most of the versions she's been told basically she's got to be there to serve the knights,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
king and his nobles, and that the king wanted her to wait on them. So I'm guessing she probably thought, no, I've had enough of this, thanks. With whatever lecherous behaviour would be going on with a load of drunken knights. And she'd probably thought, no, thanks.
No.
Um, so so that's the way I've sort of read into it. There are those little you sort of pick up those little things. Well, if she was happy, she wouldn't be running off with Brown Robin, that's for sure.
Maybe, yes, I don't know.
You know.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much more there is to say about this. I mean, but the tunes,
No.
there's two tunes in Bronson, one of which is the Mrs. Brown, sung by Mrs. Brown of Falkland, Aberdeenshire, copied by Joseph Ridson. Um, and yeah, it's odd. It doesn't quite seem to scan at some points. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a go at this earlier. I'll attempt it again now. Um, it's interesting that sometimes in Bronson we get the manuscript, the piece from the manuscript written out as is, and then underneath it you get a conjectural reading, which is, I think, Bronson attempting to make sense of the tune that's written out in the manuscript.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Bronson's written, both Mrs. Brown and Christie have preserved a tune. Mrs. Brown's was also copied off for Walter Scott and has been given in Child's Appendix 5, so there's turns up elsewhere. Um, Walter Scott's own note on folio 11 of his manuscript, Abbotsford manuscript, Scottish Songs, with reference to the Tytler manuscript, which is this tune. Walter Scott wrote, "The music is copied as exactly as possible, but as I do not know the value of a single note, I am no judge of its merit."
Yes.
Basically, because he copied the tune down, but wasn't sure how it was meant to work with any words, so he wasn't
No,
able to say whether it was a good melody or not. And then
no,
Bronson said, "I have discussed this tune and offered a conjectural reading in it." So therefore, he's just sort of written it out in what he thinks is a slightly sort of more readable way. We've
yeah,
got the king but and his nobles all sat drinking at the wine. The king and his nobles all sat drinking at the wine. He would have none but his daughter to wait on him at dine. This is a problem that listeners that Helen and I had earlier, is that even if you try and read the conjectural reading of the melody, it still doesn't really scan with the words that Mrs. Brown had, which is the problem we were having and the problem you were having in terms of coming up with a singable version for this episode, is that doesn't really scan. So that was a
no,
bit odd. And then the Love Robbie tune, Christie, from the recitation of an old woman in Buckie, Banffshire, collected in 1876, but says traditional in her family since circa 1750. And we'll have a go at this one. A feathered fowls in your orchard, father. Feathered fowls in your orchard, father. Oh dear, but it sings so sweet. What would I give my own father dear, that bonny bird to meet? What would I give my father dear? What would I give to meet? And see if it works with the second verse. Oh, hold your tongue, my daughter Mary. Let all your folly be. There's 6 Scott lords tomorrow, child, that will all dine with me. There's 6 Scott lords tomorrow, child, and ye maun serve them all merry, as were for meat and fee. Anyway, that was a bit of a mangling there of that one. But as you said, neither tune is particularly. I mean, they could be made into something quite nice, but as they stand, they're not particularly promising because they don't really scan that well with either. So
no.
don't quite agree
It's
with it.
I
So,
think sometimes when, as we know, there were two things that happened. One is that there was some notes written down on the top of a piece of paper. And then we realised later that isn't the tune to that at all, which happens so much in certainly a lot of the old broadsides that I end up immersing myself in. You thought,
yeah,
oh, great, this one's got a tune. And then you realise, no, that's a tune to something that was 3 pages away.
yeah, exactly.
And it isn't the tune at all. Or as we've said, somebody has heard it, has written it down, isn't necessarily brilliantly musically able. So I've included all the grace notes and all the trills and all the little variables in voice. And you think that's not how you would normally write the melody down for a song.
No, indeed.
So I did play that. I tried for it. I really struggled for ages trying to make either of these two tunes fit in a way I was happy with, and by the fact that I was trying to tie together lyrics from different versions to make one complete song.
One song, yeah.
And then you realise you sort of sometimes got to cut your losses and just use those tunes that we have available as an inspiration
Yeah, and come up with
to a
something else.
melody.
Yeah, I was thinking that if I were to sing this, I might put it to an existing tune like Oh, it's a tune that's come up loads of times before in folk songs, but on the podcast, I think it was a staple tune for the song Young Hunting. And I've heard it sung to the Scots song Earl Richard, which I think is Young Hunting. Oh no, Young Hunting was. I'm going to have to check my spreadsheet of what songs we've covered on the podcast because there was uh, Young Hunting is also called something else. It might Earl Richard probably. I'm getting apologies, listeners, if you're listening and you're getting riled up at me not misremembering things, but I certainly know a Scots song called Earl Richard that has the same tune, and so I would attempt something like with using the version A as text. The king, but on his nobles all, sat birling at the wine. He would have none but his daughter to wait on them at dine. She served them, but she served them ben, until a gown of green. But here he was, I on brown Robin, that stood low under the rain. So that kind of seems to, in my head, seems to fit quite nicely, and is a two-part tune, which for longer ballads is quite makes it quite palatable.
Yes, I tend to do that because I often, with my, when I take all the four, because so many of them are just four line verses, and I have a tendency to put them into 8 line verses so that I can have an A part and a B part
Yeah,
because it just, and then you can do some variables within that so that not every verse is sounding the same. You can go up or down or whatever. So
indeed.
I tend to be a great liker of not just sticking to 4 line verses of the same melody for,
Yeah,
56 verses or
indeed.
whatever it might be.
And then yeah, so that's what I do, and it may well be what I do. I'm very tempted to have a go at my own adaptation of the text and with that tune, and see if I can
Yeah.
make up a performable thing out of it. Because I quite like this song.
Yes, I say I've grown to quite like it. It was one that I found quite difficult to pull together. When sometimes you read all the versions and you can see a direct route, you know what you're pulling in, and you think, yeah, that's how I want it to be. And this one, it was only quite recently that I finally sort of came up with the version that I was happy with. I could sing comfortably, and I mean, obviously, because if I'm doing them, I've got to make sure I can sing them. So I'm not having too many octave jumps. Thank you very much. I can do it, but let's not.
Sure.
But yeah. So when I'm doing that, it was at first I wasn't clear where I was taking it, but the more that I discovered this idea of him and his willing disguises as a woman, it sort of did make that become quite a theme because it obviously is, otherwise it wouldn't be mentioned. He's done it once, he's done it twice. Does he do it anymore? Well, we don't know. Um, so yes, that to me is has turned it into certainly a song that I would be quite happy singing, and one probably I keep meaning at some point all these songs that I'm putting together that I haven't already recorded. It is just putting another bunch of unaccompanied songs together of stuff like we're doing here to release, just because it's nice to have them out there, isn't it? And then you've got there's a record that actually these songs now do exist in a singable version.
Yeah,
That is half the reason for doing it, isn't it? It's great that people have got an archive of the information about these songs, but from my point of view, I want them to have life. I want them to come back and be able to be sung if somebody chooses to. And that's, it's not my role isn't that important in that, if it's me, but I just feel if somebody is doing it, it's just bringing songs back and giving us, even more songs within our repertoire, and there'll be a song that somebody will like and want to sing.
indeed, absolutely. And yeah, you have done as you said, a new setting of this for us, so we'll hear that shortly. But I think we'll leave things there. Um, otherwise, lest we be accused of padding. I'm sure we have padded a bit already, but no, nevertheless, there's not much to say about it. But I think we've found some things to say, and yeah, we'll see you in 3 weeks' time for 2 weeks in a row with two
Yeah.
songs you had already sort of looked into and worked up versions of. So less work for you there, only because you'd already done it all. So
Yes, these are what the next ones we're going to be doing are the ones that I was asked by Carl at Sing Yonder if
that's
I
right.
would turn my hand to them, and actually I have it's that they sort of have become ones that I quite like and
There we
fueled me
go.
on for many a rewrite.
Excellent. Well, we'll come to them, yes, 3 weeks' time and then a week after that. But until then, Helen Lindley, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Matt.
There is a bower in my father's orchard, and hear it sing so sweet. What would I give, my father dear, that bonny bird to meet? Oh, hold your tongue, my dear daughter, and let your folly be. Gilbert and Lords dine here tomorrow. You'll serve them, dear Mary. You'll serve them, dear Mary. She served them meat, and she served them wine, the footman much the same. But her mind was on her brown robin, who stood out in the rain. £100 tied in a towel, she's thrown over the castle wall. She's pledged her love to her brown robin, told him disguise that night to call, told him disguise that night to call. I know it's true what you do tell me, so for the clock strikes 3, I shall come to your bower, Mary, disguised as a lady. When Lord my father and gay Gilbert have set themselves to drink, I shall be ready, brown robin, to let my true love in, to let my true love in. So she has served her father's party with much strong beer and wine, till they were all as beastly drunk as any wild wood swine. She stowed the keys from her father's pockets, with them unlocked the gate. Brown Robin came to Mary's bower, dressed like a comely maid, dressed like a comely maid. When day had come and the night had ended, the sun shone on their feet. Then Brown Robin, he turned and said, I'll be discovered yet. Oh no, the lady said in earnest, my love you need not doubt. Using my wiles, I got you in here, with the same I'll get you out. With the same I'll get you out. She took good wine from her father's cellar, said, won't you sup more cheer? I love the cup you served to me, said her father dear. Oh, woe's your wine, my dear father, that e'er came o'er the sea. It's made my head so sick a state now, in my bower I cannot be, in my bower I cannot be. Go out, my dear daughter, go out and take the air. Go out and walk in the good green wood, go with your ladies fair. But then spoke out the Lord Gay Gilbert, inside Mary did groan. We'll send the maids to collect some flowers, and keep our lady home, and keep our lady home. There's 7 maids within my bower, but none can choose for me the flowers that I love so dearly, so I must go to see. Then she has gone unto her bower, as fast as she could run, and she has dressed her brown robin like any fair maiden, like any fair maiden. The gown that she put on her true love was of a dainty green. His hose was of the softest silk, he shone like any queen. She's dressed herself in royal scarlet, took arrow, bran and bow. She's hidden them within her clothing, no porter let her leave alone, no porter let her leave alone. The first lady she then sent forward, 'twas Brown Robin by name. The porter led her pass and spoke out, she is a sturdy dame. Then Mary went out that May morning, a May morning so gay. She never was to return back home, with Brown Robin she stayed, with Brown Robin she stayed.
That was Helen Lindley singing Brown Robin. And that brings this episode to a close. What did you think? What are your thoughts in this song? Do you think there's a good reason why this song has never been looked at since way back when? Should we give it its chance to shine, or do we leave it where it is? I reckon this one should be brought back into circulation. Lots of fun to be had, I reckon. If you'd like to get in touch with me for whatever reason, feel free to drop me an email at intheroud@singyonder.co.uk. That's intheroud@singyonder.co.uk, or visit the podcast on various social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/intheroudpod. Our Instagram handle is at intheroudpod, and our Blue Sky handle is at intheroud. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would very much appreciate it if you would give us a little rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts from. That really helps the podcast to reach a wider audience. Just click the 5-star button, please. And, even a 1-sentence review, it all helps the algorithm. And even on YouTube, please do, if you're listening on YouTube, please do hit the subscribe button, click like on the episode, write a comment, preferably a nice comment. It all helps the algorithm thing, because no matter how good you may be, as if you're not riding the algorithms, you don't get anywhere. So please help the podcast to reach a wider audience by interacting with it on your podcast app of choice. Over on our Patreon, there's no new episode this week, but if you sign up, you get access to our entire back catalogue of episodes, where we're almost at 2 years worth of episodes now on Patreon. And these are mainly song episodes, just like we do on the podcast, but with different Roud numbers rather than going numerically upwards from one. And these songs are chosen by the singer guests. So we've had songs chosen by people like Nancy Kerr, John Kirkpatrick, George Sansom, Jess Arrowsmith, and many more. If you feel so moved to support the podcast financially, then please do head on over to patreon.com/intheroud patreon.com/intheroud, and you can sign up for either £5 or £10 per month and receive regular bonus content. That's patreon.com/intheroud. In the Roud is a media partner of Veteran, the traditional music label. Although this week's song does not currently feature on any of their releases, you can find details of their extensive catalogue on their website, veteran.co.uk. That's veteran.co.uk. One last huge thanks to this week's guest, Helen Lindley. Join me next week for episode 3. We'll be looking at Roud 63, which is Child Ballad 99. That's a song called Johnny Scott. My history guest will be returning guest Sheena Wellington, and my singer guest will be Emily Smith. Until then, that's it from me. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you next time in the Roud.